Hey guys, Matthew, and today I'm going to bring you guys the update on this Road to Headhunter, or whatever you want to call this series, and this is going to be essentially the second update and the third day of the actual series. So I want to talk about a little bit of how the character's feeling and what we did in the first couple days, and then I want to talk about the idea that I had in terms of farming and how it turned out and the results, as well as finally what we're looking at in terms of currency so far. So in terms of character, we're playing Elemental Hit, same exact thing that we were playing initially. Day one, we got ourselves to maps, so we farmed Quarry for an hour or whatever. We got enough currency to get the build rolling, and then we, slowly but surely started gaining levels. We pretty much got to yellow maps, and that's when I called it a day on day one. Day two, I went ahead and basically set the character up for the farming strategy, which was going to be Bestiary. I'll talk about that in a minute. And we basically set it up to be able to do T14, maps. And it's pretty much been feeling pretty good up there. It's blasting through T14 plus maps. It's a very fast mapper. I'm actually surprised at how fast it is. The only thing is, like most bow characters when it comes to budget versions, the single target damage is a little bit lacking, but it's really only against bosses and really only when it comes to maps that have a lot of tanky mods. Otherwise, the build is really kind of cruising, and it's, again, like I said, really fast. It's a great farmer for the link mechanic. Barely ever dies. It's got a decent bit of dodge because we do have Wind Dancer paired up with the Raider. We also are using Inspired Learning, which is completely carrying for the league mechanic itself. It's a good build and it's a good time. But again, single target damage isn't great. Now I want to talk about the strategy that I tested for day 3, which was basically the initial start of where I was starting to make currency. So we started on day 2, but I hadn't really set up yet. So day 3, which was today, is when I officially set up everything. So what I did is I got 2 of these naturally lucky watchstones, a 50% and a 32, which with Secreted Stones gives me a total of 100%. And if you read this, the wording is 100. It's percent chance for red beasts in areas to be less common, which means there's no reason to go 200% or whatever, because it's not increased chance. It's just the percent chance. So, for example, with the Secreted Stones and these nodes that I have here, I have 100% chance. So every single time that I encounter a beast, it's of a less common of 2 varieties, which is really nice because it means more potential for better beasts. Then I'm also using of the Deep Watchstone, or Chrysic. So this is to try to get as many frogs as possible, imprints, which are right now pretty much the most expensive beasts out there. And I paired that up with some chance to create a copy of Beast Captured Area with a T1 that I rolled pretty luckily. I would have had to divine that, but whatever. So about 10% with the Secret of Stones or whatever chance to double the beast. So whenever you get a beast, there's 10% chance that there's going to be 2 instead. In terms of the nodes that I was going for, big game. For appearing in pairs and all that, pretty good. Great Migration, that gives you a ton of beasts, 30 plus in a map. It's crazy. Trespassers, Exotic Goods. Exotic Goods is actually surprisingly good. It gives you a bunch of just random stuff, Gilded Scarabs even, Stack of Chisels, Regrets, a bunch of different things, really. It's pretty cool. But it's not like, crazy. It's just pretty good. It's a nice little bonus. And of course, I was getting that which you seek to wrap it all up with some potential for free Mirrors of Delirium, which we got a decent amount of actually. Which is nice because clusters, some of the clusters are really, really expensive. And I was doing T14 maps, so I was getting pretty high level clusters. Anyways, that was the strategy. Let's talk about how much money we made in today, which I did a 6-hour session. I went for 6 hours. And in terms of beasts alone, we were able to fill up 2 pages pretty much of yellow beast. Now when I say yellow beast, I'm talking about the actual yellow beast that you encounter in your maps, which don't do anything special, but are required to be able to do any of the special beast recipes, right? You need 3 of them every time. These sell for 2.5C each, or 1 Exile for a full inventory, which costs you 60 chaos to orb up, which means you're making 90 chaos profit, which means you are making 1.5 chaos profit per beast that you encounter in any map, which is pretty good because they don't really matter, and they sell quite well in bulk on things like TFT or whatever, right? So I filled up 2 tabs, which is total about 280, which means I essentially got about 4.5 inventories, right? And at 1x per inventory, that's 4.5 exalts worth of yellows in this span of 6 hours, which doesn't sound awful, but it doesn't sound great. But the thing is, you have to orb them up, like I said, right? So that's minus 280 chaos, and all of a sudden we're looking at only just about 2 or so exile profit over the span of 6 hours. That, of course, is only the yellow beast, which is only, you know, a portion of how much money we really made. Now, if we look at the rare beasts, I was actually quite surprised to see that there weren't that many over the span of 6 hours. Now, the league mechanic is very time consuming, and because I'm doing red maps and I want to sustain and I want to have a chance at Straw Master and all that, I wasn't specifically focused on beast farming, which is why I wasn't, you know, only going for beasts. So maps were not going as fast as they could have been going. So in terms of beasts, 1 Ferric Tiger Alpha, which is the Pharaoh's Beast, worth about 80 C. We got 2 Frogs, which are the imprints, 2 Spiders, which are the splits, which are very cheap this league, but the imprints are still pretty decent, about 100 C each. And then we got a bunch of varieties of lynx and wolves and you know, other beasts that are all worth about 10 C each. Now, I'm not going to do the math right now because I did it on stream, but in total, in my total of 6 hours entirely, from beasts alone, I made 10 exalts, which even for an Al Can Go sort of strategy, I like to think is really, really bad. Now, I made a lot more than that because, of course, I was, like I said, I was doing the lead mechanics, right? So I was getting all this other currency. I was getting, you know, sextant, chisels, fusings, you know, exalts, whatever, right? I was getting all the other things, div cards, from all the other league mechanics for sure. But from the bestiary setup alone, it was about, you know, 10x in 6 hours, which is pretty bad because when I did the math on this 10x per 6 hours, right, which is how much money I made total, it doesn't even consider the scarabs that I used, right? Now, the scarabs are not very expensive. They're 5C each for the ones that I was using, which are the rusted bestiary scarabs in bulk. So 5C each, 5C per map, not that crazy. I believe I bought a total of like 50 or 60 of these in the entire day, so maybe 2 exalts from those. So my 10x was actually not even profit. It was maybe something like 8x profit over the span of 6 hours. All that to say that honestly, bestiary as a solo player is not great. Now, why is it not great? And I was kind of expecting that, but I still wanted to test it just for fun. Is because it is still possible to this day to do 6-man bestiary farming. Now, the way that you have to do it, though, is you have to lure the beast to the start of the map with 5 other accounts. And this is why people are willing to pay these prices, like 12C on a wing scarab or 7C on a gilded one, and even way more, because right, this is not in bulk. In bulk, it's significantly higher for a gilded and a winged. But some people are willing to pay these prices, even if, you know, as a solo player, I would have literally lost money if I was buying these, right? But if I was doing this with 6 accounts, instead of making 10x, I would have made, well, 60x, right? An additional 500% profit. So because of that, well, people are willing to pay outrageous prices for the scarabs, and also because of that, people are willing to sell their rare beasts for much less because, well, there's a lot of competition with everybody doing it. Now, there's a lot less people who are actually beast farming nowadays. I think that's a good thing, but there are still people who do it with the 6 accounts, and in my opinion, my conclusion now is that as long as it's even remotely possible to do some sort of 6-man beast farming or, you know, rotations or anything like that with yourself, essentially, it's never going to be profitable to beast farm by yourself with the current price of beasts. Now, if they were to, you know, revert the spider thing, you know, I would have made an extra 4x all there. If they were to, you know, there's a lot of things that have changed in the world of beasts that have drastically decreased the amount of profit you can make. But anyways, that's pretty much my conclusion on the strategy. So we're definitely going to be moving away from this. Now, technically, if I wanted to farm a headhunter just from beasts, I could do it. But, you know, given the fact that I made 10x in 6 hours or 8x profit, it would take a pretty ridiculous amount of days. And by the end of it, I would have finished the actual challenge more so because of side mechanics than the actual main mechanic itself. So we are definitely going to be moving away from Turn's End. Now, where are we going to go? Where's our new home going to be? That is something that I have yet to decide. There's obviously the potential for going over to Lear Ithane to do Breach and Heist, as the price of blighted maps has been going down pretty steadily. Valdo's Rest is not really an option without the Watchstones. Lyra Arthane, not so great either. Luxajoris is pretty interesting because we can go farm some clusters, but unfortunately, without the the access to cheap and available delirium orbs, it's kind of going to be not very possible. Glennicar's is interesting with the price of divines right now. Might go for that, or we might actually go for another sort of Alkengo strat, head over back to Hayward Hamlet, because we have some really good speedy maps like Atoll, for example, and farm up some essences paired with some rituals. That's always a strategy that's possible. Now, there's a really nice way to make currency with that, with 30C vessels. You can basically just take advantage of the 10% chance for rituals, which is like every 5 maps because of the base 8%, and then you can just sell the blood-filled vessels every single time you encounter one of these maps, right? You can fill up like 4 of them, sell them for an extra 10 to 15C profit per blood vessel. So every 5 maps you're making 60C off of that, and of course you're also getting the altars themselves, which are, even without the Watchstones, very, very interesting rewards. So I haven't really decided yet what I'm going to be doing, but that's pretty much it for the update. Now, to finish it off, I guess we're gonna have a very quick look at what Excellence has to say. So Excellence does not consider our beasts right now, which we have about 8x or so worth of beasts at the moment, maybe 10x worth of beasts actually. So we'd have to add that on top of what we have here. But of course there's going to be some junk in there, which is probably, being told is multiple chaos, which is really not. So let's just say maybe 3,600 plus the 10 exalts, so another 1,500. So we're looking at about 5,100 chaos accumulated so far over the span of our 3 days played. So we're doing pretty okay for the challenge, but of course in terms of raw currency we're not doing all that great. So I'm looking forward to how things are going to be going forward. Now, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. That's pretty much all I have for you guys on this update. Before I go, though, I want to say a massive thank you to my supporters: Flame Scorpion, Richard, Willie, Alex, Jordan, Emma, Raymond, Tim, Scott, Lost of the Map, Grimoire, Nathaniel, Kremis, Justin, Kevin, the other Justin, Sonis, Axel, Mercury, and Bizen. As well as a massive, massive thank you to everybody who is listed over here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.